All righty, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Casey Meehan, and welcome to February's edition of Sustainability Chats, brought to you by the Sustainability Institute here in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Here at SI, Sustainability Institute, we are all about catalyzing sustainable actions in the Seven Rivers region. And we do this a couple of different ways. We educate about sustainability issues and local solutions. We advocate for climate and sustainability action. We connect like-minded organizations and people to each other, and we hopefully inspire a positive vision for a sustainable future. So today, we are talking about the Carbon-Free La Crosse Challenge and how you and your family and friends and neighbors and coworkers can take action to help make progress towards a cleaner future, that future that we're all, wanting. Now, if you've never been on one of our chats before, we will be monitoring the chat box. So if you've got a question or concern, please type it in there, and it'll go to us here on the back end. And typically, what happens is after our guest presenters present, we should have some time at the end for you to get some of those questions that you have answered. So please, again, if you've got a question, please just type it into that chat box and we'll do our best to get to it. And now we've got some questions for you. You should see a poll come across your screen, and it's got just a few questions for you to take a few seconds to answer. So first of all, what percentage of Americans are concerned about climate change and want to take action to help? Those of you that are up on your Yale climate change communication research will probably know this one. And two, have you heard of the La Crosse Carbon-Free Challenge? So I'll give you just a couple more seconds here to answer. All right, so it looks like about half of you, 56%, said that about 48% of Americans are concerned about climate change. 44% of you have heard of the La Crosse Carbon-Free Challenge, so 56 of you haven't. That's 56% of you haven't, so it's good news. You're going to be getting some new information today. And it looks like about 80% of those online are La Crosse residents. All right, terrific. So we frame a lot of our work here at the Sustainability Institute around the global goals for sustainable development, which are 17 interconnected goals that, if we work mindfully towards, we will end up by 2030 living in a more sustainable world. And one of those goals is climate action. Now, the city of La Crosse does have a climate action plan, and it's pretty aggressive. It's great. You're going to learn more about it from Louis Kuhlman today. What the plan itself is looking to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030 and 100% by 2050. So greenhouse gas emissions, that's the pollution that's causing climate change. This is a really ambitious goal, and it's going to take all of us working together to accomplish this goal. And that's actually a question I get all the time is, what can I do about climate change? What can I, as just an individual, do about climate change? Now, it turns out there's quite a bit that you can do. These are 5 things that I recommend quite a bit in the talks that I do. But the truth is that there's really a lot of things that you could do. And really, you've got a limited set of resources and time to devote to taking climate action, right? It can be really overwhelming and confusing to take climate action. Plus, as an individual, sometimes it's really hard to see the impact of all of our collective actions when it comes to climate change. So, overwhelm, confusion, unclear outcomes. This isn't exactly a recipe for motivation when it comes to climate change and climate action. So today's Sustainability Institute chat takes a look at how you can participate in what's called the La Crosse Carbon-Free Challenge. More specifically, we're going to be exploring a free tool designed by Bright Action specifically for La Crosse that helps you clearly understand the actions that you can take to reduce your emissions, and also then gives you some clarity into what those actions actually mean in terms of your carbon footprint. So we're joined today by two guest presenters. I'm thrilled to have them speaking to our SI Chat audience. First, we've got Louis Kuhlman, who many of you know. He's the environmental and sustainability planner for the city of La Crosse. Louis has a master's degree in urban and regional planning and is a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. He's worked for the city of La Crosse for over 11 years now and has served as the environmental planner since 2017. He's also done just a wonderful job leading the planning process for the city's climate action plan, and then just sort of wrangling the cats. I'm one of those that's on the steering committee, and he does a great job of just sort of getting us together and trying to put some actions forward. Also joining us from way out in the Bay Area of California is Lisa Altieri, and she is the founder and CEO of Bright Action, with a master's in environmental economics and a unique blend of experience, including data analytics, business management, and grassroots organizing. Lisa is extremely passionate about creating software tools with a mission of empowering people like us on towards climate solutions. So the Bright Action platform, if you haven't seen it yet, it's being used by municipalities and organizations around the country, and it makes it super simple and easy and even fun for people to learn about the solutions to climate change, and then to find actions to make a real difference, like at your home and in the community and beyond. So with that, I want to turn it over to Louis Kuhlman from the city. And take it away, Louis.
See. Oh, there we go. Sorry if I didn't have my video going. Thanks for having me. Let me get my slides ready. All right. Thank you, Casey, for the great introduction. I had the privilege of working with a lot of community members on the climate action plan, which the city of La Crosse adopted a year ago last January. So the process took about 11 months. We had a large team of nearly 50 members. We worked with a lot of community organizations, and we were able to get a lot of community input and develop some good, helpful research, and had a lot of online involvement as well. For some of the foundational research, we looked at our vulnerability assessment. So this is the sort of adaptation part. What is already happening in La Crosse, and what is likely to happen regardless of what we do? How do we prepare for what we're anticipating on the horizon? We also did a greenhouse gas inventory, a ground cover survey, so looking at our tree cover and heat island potential, and then also potential for renewable energy. And all these documents formed the baseline assessment and strategic goal recommendations. So in 2019, the Common Council adopted a resolution to be carbon neutral by 2050. And I really wanted to look at some concrete goals that we could do over this decade to make it a little bit more present and give it a sense of urgency. So what can we do now rather than wait until 2049 to try to accomplish? So all of the recommendations are based on that outcome. So the plan itself has 9 sectors, addresses 9 sectors, and there's 41 strategies and 281 actions. So that's a lot of stuff to choose from. And those strategies and actions not only look at municipal operations, but what can we do community-wide? And not just residents, but also businesses. So there's a lot of things at play, a lot of people, a lot of organizations in play to do over the next 8 years since 2022. The sectors that we looked at were transportation and mobility, land use and housing, buildings and energy, waste management, water and wastewater, green space, trees and ecosystems, local foods and agriculture, health and safety, and the economy. And there were also some cross-cutting actions that kind of addressed everything that laid the groundwork for accomplishing more. Here's just a graphic showing how all of these sectors interact with each other. Like they're not, while we divvied them up to help us focus, there's a lot of interrelation in the Venn diagram of activity here. So as I mentioned, our goal of reaching carbon neutrality by 2050 is on this chart. And we're looking at, well, how far do we need to get by 2030 to make our way to stay on that path? And we also looked at, well, what do we do, or what's going to happen if we just stay the course of what we're already doing? So this wedge diagram provides a illustration of the work that's laid out in front of us. The final deliverables are the climate action plans that has all of, like I said, the strategies and actions. We have implementation matrix and reporting formats, so we can update our elected officials in the community on our progress. Policy and ordinance database, so we can look at, well, making it easy to just sort of adapt what other communities are doing to into La Crosse. And we're engaging the public through our La Crosse Climate Action Plan website and the Carbon Free Challenge. So I'll pass it off to Lisa to tell you more about the Carbon Free Challenge.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lewis. And thank you, Casey, for the introduction and also for the invitation to join you all today and talk a little bit about our program. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And while I'm doing that, I will add one small thing to my intro or to my bio, which is my family's from Minnesota. So I grew up spending an awful lot of time in Minnesota and have a wonderful love for your part of the country. So let me go ahead and do the slideshow here. Great. So let me see if I can get rid of the Zoom controls. There we go. Perfect. So we had a question at the very beginning, and that question was what percentage of Americans are concerned about climate change and want to take an action to help? It's actually a lot more than people think. So it's 63%. Most people are concerned about climate change and do really want to do something, but most people don't know what to do and where to start. So Casey, that was a wonderful intro to the work that we do. Is very much the case that people are just not sure and they're feeling overwhelmed. It feels like this big, huge problem, and nobody, people just don't know where to start. So that is actually the reason that we exist, and the reason that I founded Bright Action was to help make it easy for people to learn about the solutions to climate change and how they can help in their daily lives and beyond. So that's a really hopeful statistic that this is on their radar and they're concerned and they want to do something to help. So once I started to think about this, I thought, well, what can we do? And what do we have solutions for? And the really great news is that 40% of our US greenhouse gas emissions come from 5 basic household activities that we do every day. That's our home use of electricity, our home use of heating fuels like natural gas, our transportation, how we get around, our food choices, and our waste stream, what we throw in the garbage. And if you noticed on the inventory, the greenhouse gas inventory for La Crosse, that was the 3 main chunks that you saw there were building emissions, which are your electricity and heating fuels, your transportation, and your waste. So 40% of our US emissions are coming from those 5 areas. And on average, for most cities, it's actually 40 to 60%. So oftentimes for cities, it's even more than 40%. And what's really great news is that we actually now have solutions for all 5 of those. That was not the case 10 years ago. It used to be really hard to go carbon free if you wanted to 10 years ago. But we now have a lot of advances in technology and new choices that we have available that makes it easier than ever for households, for all of us to think about reducing our impact on greenhouse gas emissions. And if you think about it, it makes sense because fossil fuels are the primary source of greenhouse gas emissions in the US, around 80%. And that is our home heating fuels, that's our gasoline in our cars, that's using coal or gas to create electricity. Those are the sources of that. So it's kind of in our everyday lives and a lot of things we do. But as I said, the great news is that we now have solutions for all 5 of those activities that not only help with climate change, and this is the even better news, is that those 5 solutions actually can save households a lot of money. And for us, on average, households can save $1,000 to $3,000 a year by taking the common actions across our platform. And these solutions also help improve our health. They improve air quality, and they also help support local job creation. And there's a new policy out with the Inflation Reduction Act. And that is providing a lot of funding, tax credits and rebates for some of the bigger actions that really move the needle on greenhouse gas emissions at the household level. So there's a lot of good news here. And so for us, we think, well, the challenge here is to make it easy for people to learn about this. So for us, the La Crosse Carbon Free Challenge framework does the most important part of it is just to make it simple and easy for people to learn about the solutions to climate change and what they can do to help. And then we added in a very robust carbon calculator to help people understand for their unique household what actions make the biggest impact. And then also not only what impact they make, but how much you can save by taking that action. So we have both impact metrics and savings metrics on every action that reflect your unique household data. So it's very personalized. And then most importantly, we have set up the program to foster community connections. So instead of doing this on your own, you can do this with your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, and whatever, your book club, however you want to do it. So it's really easy to do this together as a group. So how it works is you sign up, and we highly recommend doing that household profile, which provides us information to set up the carbon calculator to customize that for your house. And then from there, again, we encourage folks to create a group or a team and work with others. And we have lots of different programs to do engagement as groups. So we have a meeting series that you can go through, get together with some friends or neighbors and go through. It's a 4-meeting series, about an hour long each. They're fun, they're engaging, where you can learn together about the main core topics of solutions and work together and support each other. And then also, we're here to help you succeed with that. So if you are interested in creating a group for your organization or your neighborhood or any group that you're a part of, please reach out to us, because our job is to help facilitate that and help walk you through maybe some of the different ways you can engage as a group and support you in taking action. So the main goal is to harness the power of local collective action for global impact. And so here, I'll take a minute and just show you what the platform looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce the presentation. And so this is the Crosse, excuse me. Apologies. This is the Lacrosse Carbon Free Challenge platform here, and I think the link is already in the chat, but it's really easy to access. You just put it in a browser and you can get there. And so you would click join the challenge and create an account. And then once you create an account, you're in the system here. And you have an opportunity to complete that profile and provide a little information about what you're doing today. And that helps us to provide you really custom estimates around the impact and savings for all of the individual actions. Then, of course, choosing actions is the goal, as well as learning about climate solutions. And then we also make it really easy to invite your friends and community. So here you can click this, you can create a team with a small group of maybe neighbors or friends, or you can create a group with a big group, like maybe a large faith community or a school. It's really easy to do. You just click on team, add your team name, click save, and you get a page. And so that looks like this, where you can have a page for your team, track your progress, see how you're doing, and see different actions your team members are taking. And then you can also chat and share and post so that you can communicate with each other. And then from there, the household profile looks like this. It's very simple and easy to fill out. It takes about 5 minutes, give or take. It's just checking in to see what are some of the things you're doing today, just to get a general idea. And we do utility information, transportation, and food and waste. So we're looking at what your impact is in those 5 main categories of emissions that make up 40% of US greenhouse gas emissions. Then from there, once you fill that out, you're brought here to your homepage, where you can see where you have an opportunity to make an impact. So here there is where we are out here, transportation is one of the biggest impacts, and then heating fuels often comes in second. And your profiles may be different. In your area, you have a lot colder climate, so heating fuels may come in higher than transportation. So it will vary depending upon the area that you're in. You can also see how you compare. And then the next step is to choose actions. So we have categories of actions here that you can explore. The top 4 categories are really focused on those core household emissions. So these 2 are focused on home energy emissions, electricity and heating fuels. There's 1 on transportation and 1 on food and waste. And then we also have a category on water, community action beyond your household, and then resilience. So the resilience category is a full program on how to be prepared for some of the crazy weather and storms that we're having. Although I hear it's pretty warm right now in La Crosse. So you may not need it today, but sometimes it's good to be prepared for the future. So for each category of actions, we have a short video that does a little overview to help orient how does this category of action that I do every day, how does that relate to climate change? What are the impacts, and what are some of the actions I can take? So after reviewing that, you should have a good solid idea of all the different actions in the category and what are some actions you might be interested in doing that might be relevant for your household. So what we do is encourage people to learn about solutions and then see what actions fit for them and do them when you're ready. So here is an example of an action page where you can see what a little bit more of the stats. So we have here really robust stats, and all these stats are based on local parameters. So for you, if you change some light bulbs from incandescent to LED and you see an annual savings here, that'll be based on your average cost per kilowatt hour where you live. And then points are tied to impact. So 1 point is tied to 1 pound of CO2e per year, or 10 gallons of water for most actions. And then you've got some information. You've got an introduction, you've got some tips on how to take that action, a little how-to guide, and then there are sometimes some local resources as well. So finally, after you choose the actions you're working on, you can see the actions that you're doing, mark them complete. You can see how much you'll save or reduce your impact if you finish everything on your list. And then up here, you can track your progress for what you finished. And then you can also earn levels and badges for the different action categories. So there's a lot to the platform. I wanted to very, very quickly show you that we have a new version of the platform that we're just about to launch. And it is going to have it will work just fine on a desktop. It's not quite done yet. We're just finalizing it, but it also will And for some reason with the zoom in the way, I can't get this smaller, but it will also work like an app on your phone. And this is, it will be much more phone friendly with a very simple nav and have all the information we have now, but it'll be just a very, very much simpler navigation and a little easier to move around. So that's coming actually in a few weeks. So you'll see that soon. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the presentation here quickly and wrap up. And so here we encourage you all to take a moment now and sign up and create an account. You can use the QR code here, or there we go. You can use the QR code. I'm going to leave that up for just a second if you all want to capture the QR code, or you can use the link, which is in the chat. Just click join the challenge and create an account. And then move on. The next step would be, after you create your account, is to fill out that household profile so you can get the more customized estimates on impact and saving. And then it's really easy, as I showed, to create a team or group. You just click invite your friends or community and then create that group. And then it's really easy also to invite people. So once you create your group, on your group page, you'll have a link at the top that says invite, and you click on that link, provide that link to folks and then when they use that link to create their account, they're automatically connected to your team or group. So that's it from us. We're really excited to hear your questions and any other anything you want to share. And then here, the email for Mackenzie on our team is right here to reach out if you'd like some support in getting your group up and running. And we can put that in the chat as well.
All right, Lisa and Lewis, thank you so much. Definitely have some questions here. First of all, Lewis, just one directed to the city in specifically, is there a particular goal that you have for the carbon-free challenge in the next year?
Well, we've got a goal for the carbon-free challenge to get 250 people signed up through, I think, July, end of June, beginning of July. So that's a big challenge. Yeah, just take action, set goals for yourself. I'd say one of the biggest things, I appreciate the people that want to do things individually. What's great about the Bright Action platform is that you can build a team, you can build a group, and do things together. That's where the impact is really felt, is when you do things together.
Is it possible to be on multiple teams?
Good question.
So today it's not. You can have one team and one group, but that's actually on our radar, and we do plan to change that so you can create multiple teams.
Right, and I mean, I would imagine a challenge of that is you don't want to double count, right?
Yes.
So
exactly. So when we turn that on and allow people to create multiple teams, they'll have to choose which one that they want to get counted for.
Okay, got it. And a sort of related question is, what if you're not a resident of La Crosse? Can you still sign up to take the assessment?
Absolutely. So you can go to brightaction.app. Anyone in the US can go to brightaction.app and access. And so also, if you are starting a team with some folks, maybe some coworkers, and some of them don't live in La Crosse, that's completely okay. They can join your team wherever they live. We'll ask them what city they live in, and they'll tell us. And then, but their data won't be rolled into the La Crosse program.
Interesting. So they can still be in the team. The data just doesn't carry over. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I would say too is that the platform is pretty general, like a lot of the recommendations, and that's good because that means it works for a lot of different communities. So there's an option in the platform to make comments about when you take action. So for example, signing up for green energy is something that I do, and it says reach out to your local utility provider. Well, I know where to reach out to. So Xcel Energy has a Renewable Connect program. So I put a link in the comment about that section. So the goals themselves are general for everybody, But anytime you add a comment, you can make it more specific to your community to be more helpful to other people to take those actions.
Absolutely. And we also have the resources section at the bottom of every action, and that's where you can look for local specific information as well.
And so a related question coming in from a viewer is, are you still working on updating this platform for La Crosse? And if so, what's the timeline? Some steps seem out of date. For example, carbon offsets for flyers are pretty much been exposed as ineffective. Some sent resources a few months ago to make local actions easier. Not sure what all that means.
I don't think we have anything about carbon offsets for fires. So one of the things that was really important to us when we created the platform was to focus on the actions we can all take to reduce our primary impact. So we actually don't focus on offsets. The only place that we talk about offsets at all is if you are if you need to fly, right? If you have to get on that plane, then to offset your air miles. And that and green electricity are the only two places that we focus outside of your direct personal actions.
And I think that might be what they're getting at, is the idea that offsets for flying have sort of been debunked, right? I mean, the idea that offsets work as advertised maybe isn't as
Right.
sound as what was presented originally,
Well,
right?
so I would love to speak to that, because if you look at our platform and you read the information on the offset action that we have for offsetting air travel, we actually talk about the challenges with offsets, because that's something that we feel really strongly about, that we cannot offset our way out of this. And a lot of offsets that aren't properly vetted don't actually have an impact. So however, there are some offsets that are properly vetted and registered and do legitimately reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And so we refer to like TerraPass, which is one of those. There's a Greenie certification group in the United States that very carefully watches these and certifies offsets. And so we make sure that we're only referring people to offsets that are legitimate if they're going to look to offset their air travel.
So you mentioned when we're registering for the site and doing the assessment, we can put in our utility data. Is that, and I've noticed when I've played around with it, and you can actually import your utility data straight from in our case Excel. Is that safe?
So, I mean, it's completely optional. You don't have to do it, but our platform is safe. We receive the data from a third party. The third party is called Utility API. They work with programs all across the country to provide user utility data. So a user can opt in to share their data through the Utility API platform with us. And we have a very strict privacy policy. All of the data and information that a user shares and enters into our platform is private and protected. So we don't share that with the city of La Crosse. The only information we share is on the aggregate. So the city of La Crosse can see aggregate data on a neighborhood or a group, but in terms of like the number of actions taken or the CO2 reduced, but all of the personal information, utility information, everything that you share with us is private, secure, and protected.
Lisa, how have you seen other organizations and municipalities that are using Bright Action? How have you seen them be successful? What's sort of the biggest success stories that you're seeing right now?
So, I mean, we find the biggest success stories are really working with groups, and that was the reason. So my background, the reason I come to this work is as a community organizer. I've spent over actually almost 20 years now as a community organizer working to advocate for climate policy. And so for me, I see the power of when people come together around something they care about, and they also provide support for each other. So we do a lot of work with groups. So, and that's everything from a service group like Rotary to the garden club, to the soccer league, to the faith community, to the school, to the Girl Scouts or the Scouts. I mean, we've worked with all different types of groups that come together and do this together. And so we provide a lot of different ways for groups to do this as, together and to try, have that conversation and track progress. And so we see that as one of the most successful ways that communities have engaged. Yeah.
And are private businesses eligible to create groups?
Absolutely. Yes. Any company, any group of people that want to come together and do this are welcome to.
So in general, what would you say people around here, so you mentioned there's, the sort of the 5 big areas for climate action with households, right? In general, and I know this is really context specific, right? Based on just where you're at in your life and location, but then also, are you a homeowner, or do you rent an apartment, or do you have kids, or whatnot? But in general, what would you say people in the La Crosse area here in the upper Midwest should focus on first? Are there particular areas or solutions that we need to be focusing on? And Lewis, I'm opening that up to you as well.
Lewis, do you want to jump in? I can add.
Sure. Good question. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is transportation and looking at alternative transportation choices. It can be hard for people to, use the bus or bike or walk. So anytime you can combine trips, like hold off on making a trip out to the mall or whatever, do that. So like reducing your vehicle miles traveled, I think is probably the biggest step. Then from there, look at your next car being a hybrid or an electric vehicle. And then and just try to keep incorporating opportunities for walking and biking and thinking about transit in the front of your mind. So yeah, I'd say transportation is probably the biggest.
So that every household is different. And so for us, because we do really provide everyone an opportunity to see where they have an opportunity to make a difference, we find it's really different. So we could have one household that has 2 people commuting that have a high transportation footprint, and then we could see their neighbors who are retired that drive maybe 3,000 miles a year total. And it's the home heating that's a higher impact for them. So in big buckets, it is transportation and home energy use are the 2 big buckets. And so if in a nutshell, the solution pathway is if we make our electricity renewable, and then we use that renewable electricity to power our homes and our transportation, we've pretty much ditched fossil fuels at the household level. So that's kind of the nutshell version of it. So to me, the first thing is to if you can't get solar panels on your house, great. If you can't, sign up for that green electricity that Lewis was talking about. Then you've got one of the 3 buckets covered. Then you've got green electricity coming into the home. The next time you have a chance, if you are a homeowner, to upgrade to electric efficient heat pump heating, that's a huge change to remove that natural gas. And then the next time you're looking at a new car, look at that hybrid or electric vehicle that will allow you to use that green electricity at home to power your transportation. So that's like a big picture. But the reality is that those are big actions. The green electricity is an easy one, but the other 2 are big actions and they take time. And so there's a lot of other things that you can do on the way to those actions. Like Lewis said, like my favorite one is combining trips. That's the first action that I personally did when I was learning about this, because I was trying to figure out what I could do. And I was nowhere near being able to get a new car. I had my car and that was going to be my car for a while. But I looked at how to reduce my miles traveled until I could have a better alternative in the future. And I got crafty and I was actually able to reduce my miles traveled a chunk, and it also saved me a bunch of money. So there's lots of things you can do that are even no cost or low cost that can reduce your impact today. And The other thing I wanted to mention is that 80% of our actions are renter friendly. It's really important to us to make sure that we have actions that everyone can find helpful and valuable. And as I mentioned, you can save a lot of money by taking these actions as well. So taking action, helping with climate, saving money, improving our air quality, it's like there's so many benefits to taking these actions. So from simple to a little more challenging, just do the actions you can when you're ready, and then think about some of those bigger actions down the road when you have a chance.
Thank you for that. That was great answers. Is Bright Action described or mentioned at all in the City Climate Action Plan, Lewis? And is it listed at all on the city website?
Good question. I don't recall. However, it's the main highlighted button on the website, lacrosseclimateactionplan.org. So up in the right-hand corner, there's like take action, and it'll take you right to Bright Action. But yeah, that's definitely have to put that on the city's web page as well. So thank you for the reminder.
And are there any costs at all that are associated with using Bright Action at all?
For households, no, it's always free.
And what about businesses?
No, always free.
Okay, so this is I mean, this is something that the city, if I understand it correctly, the city contracted with Bright Action, right, to bring this platform to be used by anybody in the city.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Looks like Carrie also has posted in the chat the email or the website address for the climate action plan. So those that are looking to get their hands on it, you can find it there. I've got one final question here, and I have no doubt that both of you are going to be able to answer this. You probably have a million answers in your head. What gives you hope about climate change and sort of where we're heading? Lewis, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, sure. In order. I think my opportunities to talk to kids, especially the middle schoolers that I work with in the fall, and then the opportunities that I get to speak to college students and the ways they're trying to be more innovative and thinking about solutions, that gives me a lot of hope that when I'm struggling to come up with ideas, that there are a lot of other people and a lot of younger people too that are really want to find solutions and are working as well, are hopefully building off of what I'm doing, but and will surpass me by leaps and bounds.
Lisa, how about you?
A couple things come to mind. I mean, that 63% number gives me huge hope. 63% of Americans not only are worried about climate change, but they want to take a personal action to help. I mean, people give me hope. And we've got our first, really substantial federal climate policy with the Inflation Reduction Act, providing so much money to help people put those, heat pump heaters in and switch to electric vehicles and hybrids. That gives me hope. But I have to say, I really agree with Lewis. What is amazing to me is we work with cities and counties all across the US. And in so many of the cities we work with, it's the youth, it's the high school students that are coming together and just taking this and running with it and having conversations with the adults and the parents and really just, yeah. So I think there's a lot of things that give me hope, but it's mostly people.
That is fantastic, and I think it's a great way to end this conversation. So Lewis and Lisa, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us what you're working on, but also just for bringing this incredible platform. It's I've used it. My family's on it, and it's really is just it's easy to use and it's fun. And it's everything about it is it's real easy, I know, to make dashboard type apps that are confusing, right? And just overwhelming. And this is not that at all. So if you haven't, those of you that are participating in the conversation today, if you haven't checked it out yet, do it. It is really quite intuitive. And really, it's a joy to use. So give it a shot for sure. Again, thank you to Lisa and to Lewis for spending time with us. If those of you in the audience, if you enjoyed what you heard today, if you think it's valuable, we would absolutely invite you to become a member or a supporter of the Sustainability Institute. Bringing free programming like this it's great. We love doing it, but it doesn't happen without supporters, without members. So a big thank you to our committed advocates, Lee Roche and Western Technical College, to our cheering champions, Excel Energy, Habitat for Humanity, Strive to Thrive, Olson Solar, Dorothy Leonard, and the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration. If you would like to become a member of Sustainability Institute, it's really easy. Just go to sustaininstitute.com and click Become a Member up at the upper right. Or if you'd just like to donate, that would be fine too. Find a level that suits your comfort, and really please become a member. And finally, we've got a poll here for you to take. Again, just a few short questions. This just goes to us at the Sustainability Institute to know if we're on the right track, providing information and programming that work for you. And finally, hopefully we'll see you at some of our upcoming events. We've got a busy spring. We're not quite sure what we're going to do for our sustainability chat next month, but there will be something. And then, of course, April brings in Earth Month, right? So we have all sorts of events in April, including our annual Green Goose Chase, which is a crowd favorite, and the annual La Crosse Earth Fair, which will be the last Sunday of April. So until next time, have a wonderful February, and we'll see you next month.